This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Oh my gosh, she understands all of us in ways that you would not even realize. Now, what's going on with you, the challenges you have in life, she can tell you why you have them. Just so many epiphanies in talking with her. And that is because she's a Reiki master. She's an intuitive guide, interfaith minister. She has worked with so many people for decades in figuring this stuff out. And this is the stuff that we pilot our lives from, all coming from our childhood. We're going to dig back in with our professional of the year. Chris Clearday is on the program. Welcome back. How are you doing?
Thank you. Great. How are you?
I'm good. And I'm understanding more about me, as I think many of us get that understanding when talking about this stuff, which some could think is a little woo, but it's now backed up by neuroscience, and there's a lot more going on here. So last time we got together, we talked about traumas, and I'm going to just leave it at that. And maybe we should recap for everybody that might not have seen the last podcast or heard it. What do you think?
Sure. Okay, yeah, let's recap. So this is episode 11. So in episode 10, we talked about the importance of understanding your trauma load. So we're all walking around with a trauma load, every single one of us, which is an accumulation of the little traumas, especially, and the big traumas. But the little traumas mean a lot. So the little things are everything. And I recommended that you write down your first worst memory. So the earliest memory that you have that's not a good one, and identify how it made you feel then and how you think it changed you for the rest of your life. And I think what we find is there's a lot of juice in the worst earliest memory. So I thought it would be great today to just dig into just that one thing, your worst earliest memory, and identify how that can change us.
Well, we've talked before that it's my belief that your earliest memory is a negative one. And that comes up for me, like, you got to go back. You got to really, really, really focus on the first one. Is it a positive or a negative one? And we're not being negative here. For me, that's what comes up. I've talked to others. That's what comes up. I've even looked into this, and many say that that's what comes up for the reason that it is your subconscious bringing that memory up to protect you so you don't have to do that over again. That's my belief. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think that it comes up to be healed, which would be a little different than to protect you, but I guess they can be similarly looked at. So if your worst earliest memory comes up, and like the one that you shared last episode, that was a powerful memory. And I think it comes up so that your true nature is trying to tell you, like, this is basically an open wound. And even though it's a tiny little cut, it's been festering your whole life. And we don't spend a lot of time going back and thinking about this. Like my worst earliest memory, I hardly ever think of. In fact, I totally forgot until we were talking last week. And then I remembered, oh yeah, okay. Yep, now I remember.
Yeah.
And those things change us, and that's because in that moment we felt something so deeply about ourselves that we anchored into it. We attached to the negative feeling state, and we made it mean something about ourselves. So those first earliest memories that can change a child's psyche and change the trajectory of their entire lives because of how it affects that particular child. One thing that affected you might not affect me, and vice versa.
I don't remember unless I try to. Like, it just doesn't come up.
No.
But I share with others what you've said a number of times, and I believe it, in that things come up those memories come up, whatever they are, whether it's your first one or other ones, because it's your body saying, your mind saying, we need to work on this. So I'm going to throw it to you right now. There's a reason I'm giving you that memory or that one's connected to the other one. It's not just randomly coming up in your mind, right?
No, it comes up to be healed. That's your true nature supporting you by sending you memories of things that need to be healed. And, there are some people that cling to the past, and those people with a tendency to look back will probably be a little more challenged to let go of the past than those who don't cling to the past. But even for people who don't cling to the past, there are things that have happened in everyone's past that do need to be healed within us. Like sometimes they can't be healed with another person,
Right.
but they need to be healed within us.
Mm,
And what we find is that once a child gets on a track where they have identified themselves as a victim, it's like we're trauma bonding with ourselves. And we change by anchoring into that state, and we accumulate similar related thoughts and similar related feelings, and that leads to similar related behaviors
do
just from
you?
something that could be very innocuous. I have an example for you. You know how you could be at someplace out and you see a little 2-year-old with an ice cream cone,
Yep.
and you just know to yourself that that cone's probably going to topple over. And when it does, it could be devastating for that child, depending on how it gets handled. Anything can devastate a child. They're very sensitive.
Mm, mm. I'm the person, if I'm walking down the street and I see the ice cream coming off the cone for the kid, obviously I
Mhm.
can't do anything, but I'm like, no,
Yeah,
no.
I'd be diving for it.
Yes, I feel, or if you just see it's like, that might be going, that might go. Like, I feel it. I feel what they will probably feel if it goes on the ground. Like, I would get upset.
Yeah.
Call me a jerk, whatever. That's how I'm wired. I
Well,
don't know.
no, that's you're just sensitive to that
I
and
am.
empathetic. And maybe it happened to you or one of your kids, but yeah. So we never know what's going to affect a child. Um, and that's part of what makes life interesting is that children are really very sensitive, and oftentimes parents and people, adults don't understand how sensitive children are. It's like
Mm.
they forget, but children are extremely sensitive.
So, where do we go with this in terms of the healing? And do we, if we think back to that negative memory, or we think back to our first memory, and we identify, it's not the best memory. Is that something that we need to heal from? Is that there coming up? It's slapping you in the face. Heal me. I need to heal. Is that what's going on here?
Yes, that's exactly what it's saying. We oftentimes the message is misinterpreted. Sometimes as we remember something that happened in the past, we might cling to it with a victim mentality. And that's not why it's coming up. It's not coming up to tell you that you're the victim. It's coming up to tell you that you need to heal from this so that you're not, so that you don't become or stay the victim.
Hmm. When I think back to that first memory, and it's a negative one, I see or feel other memories that are very similar as I go down, as I go forward in the timeline. And I see
Right.
myself doing the same thing. And it's not important to get into the detail, but I see myself in the same situation, but a little bit older in another area. But
Mhm.
the theme is all the same.
Yeah, the through thread
Yeah.
is similar, right? That's why you could have a tapestry of your life and there would be a similar through thread through the
It's
whole,
like
holding it all together.
I think the microscope needs to come out on that one.
Yeah.
I really do. And I'm going to be honest with you. Today's the day my dad passed away.
Oh, really? How
When I
many
was
years ago?
uh,
Oh, right. Many decades.
yeah,
You were 21, right?
that's good. Well, thank you for remembering. Yeah, I was. Um, and I, I didn't have the greatest relationship with him, but there's something there that I'm sure I have not, healed or fully healed from. And
Mhm.
that situation, suddenly passing away, ties into that thread. If you now start rewinding as a child,
Right.
that it's that thread. Again, we don't want to get into it. I'm transparent if we want to. I don't want to waste time on me, but it's the same all the way through. It's the same situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Well, that's not just you, that's every single one of us. And there are a lot of people that aren't aren't necessarily remembering their first earliest memory, but it can be jogged up. It has to sometimes be excavated. Like I asked my husband this morning, what's your earliest memory,
Oh, I'm
your worst
curious.
earliest memory? He didn't really have, he couldn't come up with it, but I'll bet you that by tonight or tomorrow, if we still chat about it, it'll memory jog him into something. And if not, he could call his older sister and ask her, like, what do you remember? Because this is something that happened in everyone's life, and it has a lot of value. Like I'll share for me, without sharing the embarrassing details, but what happened to me is, of course, because this is the through thread of my life, I felt unimportant, neglected, and this was not something that was done by either of my parents. It was a babysitter. Who actually it was our roommate. My mother and I lived with another single mom and her younger child when I was like three and a half. And this woman was neglectful. And what that did was it set me up to feel like I was unimportant and I didn't matter. And from there, that's interesting. Okay. Um,
Mm.
but what did it do? Well, what it did, and I've actually been thinking about this a lot since I was preparing for this podcast last night. And what it did is it made it very difficult for me to talk about what was going on. And it made it almost impossible for me to ask for help. And I didn't even realize until I really thought about it last night that in those 2 hours that I was really being neglected, I just anchored into feeling like I didn't matter and nothing I said would matter. And
Wow.
that it was really more like I couldn't I couldn't ask for what I needed. I could not ask for help. And I can see that as a through thread in my life. If I had been able to tell people what was going on in my life when I was, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, if I had been able to talk about it, I would have spared myself a lot of challenging moments, years even.
Wow.
Couldn't talk about it because I had been disempowered from very early on, and then that feeling of being unimportant got reinforced, throughout my life.
Um, this is why we talk about this stuff, because what you just said mirrors part of me. I forgot there was a babysitter and nothing, bad, but just, feeling of isolation. Um, there's other stuff, but there was also a babysitter in my childhood memory. Um, totally forgot about it. So you just said it.
Right?
Mm.
Yeah, these things they're way in the subconscious, like we have to dig them up.
Yeah.
But if we don't dig them up, then, oh, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Are you on mute?
That was the weirdest thing.
Okay, you came back. Now I hear you.
That is so bizarre. I'm like, what just happened there? Um, Weirdness.
I missed whatever you just said.
Um, for me, it was hypnotherapy that helped bring these memories back. But it's not like they weren't there. Like if I thought hard enough, I'd see them. It's just that made it crystal clear for me. But I'm sure. And by the way, what we're talking about here, even with your husband in that men's group I'm in, I posed that question to somebody, and he actually didn't remember a lot. And he did what you just said and started talking to his mother, father, on and on and on and on, and actually made a log of memories because he got obsessed with it. Um, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Deeper.
Yeah. Yeah. And some stuff came clear for him.
Yeah.
And he had a very impactful passing. I think it was in his teens, and that was part of it. But I was trying to take him back before that. But yeah, it's, the answers are all here. We have all the answers. We just need to access them.
Right. Right. And sometimes if you're, for people that are listening, if you can't remember something back to when you were 2, 3, or 4, then go back as far as you can remember and ponder that and put yourself in the house where you were or the yard where you were and maybe write down some details. And as you kind of bathe in that, more will come to you.
What's the best way? Is it to write it down and have, a little bit of deep thinking as to um, what that memory or situation could translate to, whatever that trauma might be?
Yeah, I think so. I think
Mm.
honestly that writing it down is fantastic. And talking about it with other people is fantastic, especially in both when you're trying to find it, talking to siblings if your parents are still alive, um, friends, trying to find it is great. That's talking to other people. And then once you figure it out, once
Mm.
you find it, then talking to other people about it because I didn't even realize that for me my difficulty um sharing what was going on and asking for help, I didn't even realize that that was connected to it until I actually contemplated it last night.
See, I find that eye-opening in that you're plugged into all this stuff.
Yeah.
Decades of helping people in many different areas from energy healing, intuition, on and on and on. And that came up for you, and
Yeah.
was it buried? Do you think that's why it's just deep seated?
Well, I think what happened when I started really contemplating this memory was that I, okay, so I always knew that the memory was there, and I hadn't spent much time thinking about it, obviously, or healing it. I do remember that I worked on it a couple times previously, like in years past, many, probably decades ago. Um, but what happened this time is that I became more aware of how it affected me because I'm, working with people in my practice around um, developing healthy neural pathways, and specifically neural pathway thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. So I just took it a little further for myself this time. I said, okay, I knew that this made me feel unimportant, and I knew. So I had the thoughts and feelings that went with it, but I hadn't identified the behavioral outcome until last night when I really sat down to think about it because I don't know. I mean, I've been in counseling myself on and off since I was 16 or 15 actually. And I want to deviate. I just got to tell you something really interesting. When I was 15, my mother took me to a counselor, and he was a man probably like 50 or so, 55, and my mother talked to him first, and then he talked to me by myself, and he said to me, um, I want you to know that your mother is probably never going to bring you back to see me, and that it's not your fault. Like the things that are happening are not your fault. I had a counselor tell me that when I was 15. And, he was right. My mother never brought me back to him, but that was so helpful.
Wow.
He gave me a heads up because I guess what happened is my mother had gone in there and spoken to him privately, and he had identified all kinds of issues that she was having, that she was projecting on me. And he set me free as he could. He did as much as he could. Um,
I gotta tell you, I didn't expect that.
yeah, I didn't expect that either, but
Wow.
it was very helpful to have that kind of outside validation from a professional. And
Thank you for sharing that, because that also speaks volumes in another area that, we look back at these memories and we go, I'm broken. I'm broken. No, you're not. It's not your fault. It,
no,
it comes from your childhood. It comes from the way you interpreted things as a kid. You're the kid with the ice cream cone. Imagine if
right.
you're walking down the street, what we're talking about with the ice cream cone on top, and let's say your sibling or even your parent went over and went and lobbed that ice cream off of your cone just to be mean. That could have set you up for challenges way later in life. At one moment,
Yeah.
you're a kid. You got nothing to do with that. You just wanted to have your ice cream. That's it.
And if it just melted and fell over, children just still internalize things. And
Right.
my worst earliest memory, my mother was very compassionate and she was so sorry that that happened. And I can remember feeling supported by her and understood by her, which is interesting because I did not feel supported or understood by the babysitter. Um, and I don't remember where I was going with that, but you know, it's just these things are really significant. And oh, I remember what I was going to say. Um, my mother tried her best, even though the psychologist said to me, like, this is not what's happening with your mother is not a reflection of what you're doing. She has problems basically. Um, I have a lot of compassion for my mom. She had her own experiences, she had
Sure.
her own traumas, and, she had her own unique addiction to suffering. We all do. That's why it's so important to go back to figure out what some of those things are so that you can move forward. So
Yeah.
it's
And
go back to move ahead.
not throwing any parents under the bus at all. Parents do the best they can with what they have. What do they have? Their parents. They have their parents. And, I look back at my father. I'm living his life now. How the blank did that ever happen? I'm trying to do it in a better way in my regard, in terms of my kids and things like that. But and after he passed, I realized, man, you're like him. You like a lot of the same things. Yeah, imagine that. Now, decades later, I'm him. It's like a weird dichotomy, but it's all about recognizing and revealing and healing. And you got to talk this out. Best way to do that, somebody that's been there and understands. How do we find you, Chris? What's the best way?
My phone number and email address are on my website, chrisclearday.com. And I'm not really into email, but I love phone calls and texts. And a good thing to do to really understand this type of approach, that's a kind of a transformational methodology, is to listen to this podcast from start to finish in order so that it can bring you along. And I think that uncovering these things is a large part of being set free from them.
Yeah. Yeah. And writing them down, journaling, as you said before, and seeing how they connect. Because that's how I did it. I looked at, you know, how I am now, whatever I feel my challenges are, and how they connected to my childhood. And when you see it, it's like it it's amazing, liberating, a little scary because now you get some work to do, but you're moving forward when you make those connections.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great way to uncover the things that are holding you back that you don't even know are holding you back. You're so much freer when you knock those little things out.
Yep. And it's not your fault. It's not your
No,
fault. Yeah. Thank you for today. ChrisClearday.com, best way to find you?
Yep.
Mm.
Yep.
You have so much insight, empathy, and understanding. It's amazing. Your energy's just off the scale. Fantastic. I appreciate you. Thank you for today.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate you.
Likewise, we'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.